Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, May 28th, 2013. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, birds. Thank you. In accordance with Mass General Law, I have to announce that this meeting is being recorded by the Board of Selectmen's office and also by East Long Meadow Cable, and have to ask if anyone else in the audience is recording it. Hearing none, we'll proceed. Now, we'll ignore the random chirps and just move on with our meeting. Our first appointment is Bruce Moore, the chairman of the East Long Meadow Historical Commission. Bruce, you want to come up? Hi, sir.
Hi.
Oh. Excuse me. Which one's the hot seat?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whichever one you're sitting in.
The hot seat.
We're in the hot seat.
Oh, you're right.
All right, you are here today regarding the dedication of a plaque at Heritage Field.
Correct. Thank you for your time here. At this time, the ball field at Heritage Park is known as Memorial Field, but in 1956 it was dedicated as Stuart Moore Memorial Field. And I just found out about this story and was deeply moved to proceed with this rededication, much like they did Leahy Field. The old fire station used to be on Maple Street where Walgreens is, and there was an upstairs window, a glass window you could overlook Maple Street at that time. And during the 1955 hurricane, the ball field flooded there, and where Taylor Rental is on Maple Street, there was two houses that all flooded, and the people were stranded in the houses there. And Mr. Stewart, who was on the fire department and the police department at the time, set out in the fire department rowboat to go rescue the people over there. And his 4-year-old son was with him, Tom, and this is the only memory he has of his father. The father told him to go upstairs to that picture window and watch the father do the rescue. So the father set out across the ball field, rescued the people on Maple Court, and subsequently got pneumonia right after that and passed away.
Wow.
And so in 1956, they dedicated the ball field up there it was Blackman's Pond at the time, but they called it Stuart Moore Memorial Field. Mr. Moore was one of the first umpires in town who's also related to Mr. Stewart. But they put a big piece of brownstone up there with a bronze plaque on top of it commemorating the dedication. That was stolen, and Tom, as he grew older, replaced it twice, and that was stolen 2 more times. And he finally gave up trying to replace it, and then the brownstone got removed, and now it's just called Memorial Field. I had never even heard of the other Stuart Moore. So Tom has been coming to our historical meetings lately and told us the story, and we just wanted to rededicate the field with your permission. So just like the Leahy Field, do a picture of Mr. Stewart and some wording and just put it on a 4x4 post. And maybe the chief of the fire department, police department, some of their guys might want to come. It would be an open invitation at the time because he served both departments in town.
Okay. That's interesting. I didn't know about that. So it's,
No, he gave his life basically serving our town. And
right.
It's kind of a forgotten story.
Okay.
It's a lovely idea. It is.
Now, do we have to make a motion to accept or is it just a matter of this is public knowledge?
I think it's the board's pleasure to decide how you want to give consent or.
Okay. Okay, then in that case, is there a motion to rededicate the Little League ball field at Heritage Park in honor of Mr. Stewart?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Now, do we,
this isn't setting a precedent? Is this what we do?
No, because we actually, Leahy
We've done it
Field is
before.
named
Done
after,
last
yeah,
year.
Okay.
Leahy, yeah.
Okay,
And
just
the only
making
other
sure.
question, there's no one we could possibly offend or upset in the process. It's a wonderful
No.
idea. but
It really is.
Yeah. There's no one that would come
Right, and I
forward.
contacted the DPW, it's known as Memorial Field now,
Mhm.
they've dropped, so it hasn't been renamed some other name in the meanwhile.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
All
Congratulations,
right,
we move forward.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You guys are doing
you.
a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Geez, but since both chiefs are here, does that mean Mr. Stewart was sort of a public service officer? Since he served for both the police and the fire? Anyway. Chief Morissette. Good evening. How are you, sir?
Good evening.
Good evening.
You are here for a few items.
Just a few.
Yeah. First one is something I've seen before, I believe.
Same place, yep. We briefly had a discussion with Dan Hellier and Mr. Bro at a department head meeting in the absence of a health inspector. I actually received a complaint concerned about the fire hazard and concerned about the close proximity to certain properties. I was able to speak to Mr. Centinello, and he addressed the fact that he has an issue and he's working on it. One of my big concerns was access in and out of the house. He said he has no issues finding his way through. My concern is if he's in there and my guys go in there. The fire code says windows need to be clear, doorways need to be clear, needs to be aisles throughout the house. He promised me he was going to work on it. I told him I would be back by early next week
Okay.
to take a look. As far as the stuff outside, it's piles of stuff. The fire code is kind of gray when it comes to enforcing that code. It's more a health code issue. The neighbor has said there's been rodents going in and out of there, so I'm not sure where the board goes in the absence of a health inspector.
Well, we may be hopefully coming to some sort of
Sort of
temporary
agreement,
resolution to that.
Solution,
But,
yep.
you know, it's wonderful that he said he's got a
Work.
problem, he's working on it, but we saw this movie, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
We've been there
Same
before.
exact thing.
But you
So-
do have a chair, though, of Board of Health, though, that you
True,
could go
true.
to.
Right.
But, so you're gonna go back beginning of next week?
I'll go back to being on next week.
Okay.
I'll let the board know where we're at.
Okay.
I don't anticipate a lot of progress.
Okay. And, well, I'll have Selectman Thorpe get in contact with you once we get what we're gonna do for temporarily for a health inspector, and then
Yeah.
you folks can work on it.
Can I have even more of a discussion with regards to this?
Sure.
Through the chair? I did go by the place, and there are a couple of other residents that he's in ownership of.
Right.
That I did go by today, and I found even more stuff. So it's not just a concern at that one address.
Right.
It really is all, well, at least two of them.
One on Violent?
The one on Violin, the two of them actually on Violin, are a great concern. The one on Elm, not so bad, but definitely I think we need to do it all together.
Right.
Because, and make sure that this way he can do it all at once.
It's
But
reminiscent of some of those TV shows you see.
It's actually, it's more than that at this point. I mean, I've
I've never seen a TV show that's got more than one residence, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, and it is a concern, like you said, for safety as well as health issues.
Right.
And so I would ask that you had drafted a letter for this resident, but we
Yep.
would also need to include the other two.
Okay,
And,
two on Violent, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's who that letter would come from, or do I need to sign it myself? Either way.
Well, this one pretty much pertains to the fire code violations, which would come from the fire department.
Okay, so the other ones too are,
Board of Health issues which would come from yourself
Okay, then I
or
can
an
sign,
act.
but I do see a fire hazard as
Right,
well.
right.
I don't know if you want to just go by and.
Yeah, I'll
you don't-
take a-
I'm
I'll
not-
take
I
a
don't-
ride by.
I'm asking you to look at them and
Yep.
see if you believe, I have no problem signing off
No,
on
that's- I
it as a
understand.
health thing, but I definitely want to make sure that we do a consolidated effort
That's,
to
it makes a
correct
lot
this
of,
problem.
makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Every now and then I do that. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful, thank you.
I will be in touch
Okay, yep.
with the chair of the Board of Health next week.
Okay, great. Now you have next item is a request for reinstatement of a call firefighter.
Right, Mike Minahan actually stepped down. He took a job with the Springfield Police Department. Wasn't what he wanted. Wasn't terminated, wasn't let go on. He walked away from the job. Was an extremely valuable call firefighter for us. His percentage was one of the higher ones. Local, born and raised in town. And he's one of these guys who continually trains. I'll be honest with you, I think his passion is fire department, and when he started getting into the police department laws and regulations, and it wasn't his career passion. So,
Okay. Okay, and you haven't replaced him obviously since.
well, we have the people that are still in the training,
Yeah.
but that doesn't. They were there before he
Before he left.
Okay,
Anyway,
great.
So yeah.
Great.
So is that once again, Nick? Do we have to make a motion to re-accept, for lack of a reinstate?
That would be, at the
Okay.
board's.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to reinstate call firefighter Michael Minahan back to the Summit Fire Department.
So moved.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
As far as his pay and his longevity, is there,
He
with
was,
that lapse?
he's been gone almost 2 months.
2 months.
2 months.
Okay.
So his pay doesn't change. It's the same. There's no pay scale difference if somebody's been there 10 years or they've been there
Oh, okay.
a year. It's only the first 6 months their pay scale is
I
different.
just want to make
Yep,
sure we're
yep,
addressing it all at
yep.
the same time, so we don't
Right.
have to come back to it. Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All righty. And next item is your fire apparatus inspections.
This year, it's coming to a close. Every year, for the new board members, fire apparatus, we send out at this time of the year for their PMs and DOT inspections, and we typically get a list back from the vendor, the technicians, what needs to be addressed and what needs to be addressed before we can actually receive the passing DOT inspection.
Okay, DOT,
Department of Transportation.
just making sure.
Yep. All our vehicles, since the late 1990s, have always undergone DOT inspections. It just, the trucks are safe, and that way, if anything unforeseen happens, we're ahead of the game there. They go through the brakes, they go through the engine, transmission, the pump chassis, the airlines, the compressors, and it's a big task. It's not like going to Jiffy Lube with your car for $29.95, get your car oil changed. The typical cost per apparatus is about $1,250 for the initial DOT inspection and an oil change, basically. And then from there, there's a list. We were pretty fortunate this year. All of the apparatus, except for one, went through pretty much unscathed as far as having a big list of stuff that needed to be repaired. And I think all of them are getting done for less than $3,500 on top of everything else. So that falls within my parameters for what my budget is allowed for this year.
Engine one, however.
Engine one, however. Engine one is a 1982 pump that actually was replaced twice. When we bought engine 4, it became a spare piece. And then when we bought engine 3, it continued to be a spare piece. It's a pretty handy truck to have, but I wanted to have that discussion with the board because now it needs, the first estimate we had is $18,800 basically in repairs. For a truck that's a spare, kind of concerns me a little bit. I'm in the process now. The truck is currently out of service because the vendor and the technician said you have these issues that it wouldn't pass inspection, which to me means it shouldn't be on the road.
Right, it's not safe, right?
So we're working with WB Hill. He's working with trying to check some of the pricing for us that we already received from the vendor. He thinks he can do some stuff a little bit cheaper, but before I can do anything, my threshold of paying for what's in my repair budget is we're there. I couldn't spend $1,000 on this truck this year. So, once I have all the final numbers, which will probably be later, the later meeting in June, it looks like if the board wishes to go forward with this truck, it's not gonna be till fiscal 2014 anyways.
Okay.
It's not something I would go and run for a reserve fund transfer today.
Good.
All right, exactly. I just wanted to keep you guys aware of it. It's in the process, it's out of service. Just a little history on the truck. Typically, it was our brush fire truck. It's got a bunch of what we call forestry hose on it, light duty hose. It's on a reel. We can reel it out. We have 2 of our vehicles set up now that have that on there. Not as much as engine 1, but we can make some changes to those so we can put as much on. So as far as brush fires right now, we can handle just about anything that comes in town. With the 2 pieces we still have that have the hose on it. The truck actually did go to Hamden, that house fire in Hamden, and it was a pump midstream, and it moved a ton of water.
Engine 1?
Engine 1. It really, I mean, as far as the pump goes itself, it's really dependable. And once it starts pumping, that's what it wants to do. So, on that aspect, it's it's a nice truck in it, but it didn't roll a lot last year. If it went to 10 brush fires, that was a lot. So.
And you are confident that without engine 1, you can still handle any emergencies
Yes.
that would present
Yep.
themselves?
I was going back on the records, and I'm actually trying to put a report together for the beginning of next year. Even with our biggest house fires, building fires in town, we've never emptied the entire station.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yeah, keep us posted, and when you get the
Yeah, final
the
report.
updated list, we'll figure out what to
We'll
do
make a
from there.
decision from there.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Now, finally, you got car 1.
car 1,
$300, really? Aren't the
Really?
tires worth $300?
probably.
I mean, is this?
The thought was-
Let me ask you something. Is this I don't know who you're buying this.
It's
this
a state
command
vendor.
vehicle
It's a
from?
state vendor that's on the bid list. There is none out in this part of the state.
Are there more than one state vendor on the bid list?
There's 2.
Okay. 'Cause
Actually, there's more than 2,
I'm
but
thinking that's
I'm working with 2.
okay.
Speaking
That's
with Sergeant Sheehan,
Just I don't mean to interrupt, but just to let people know what we're discussing is the fact that they offered you a whopping $300 for your Crown Vic
right,
in trade, which I think is sort of a slap in the face, but that's neither here nor there. The thing runs.
right. It's got some issues,
Yeah.
and I didn't tell him
Don't
that
we
it
all?
has some issues. But speaking with Sergeant Sheehan, they're trading correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, like a 2009, and it's $2,200.
I haven't heard, he hasn't
Yeah.
told me what the numbers are, I know he called down there the other day.
The Blue Book value on the one that they're giving you $300 for is 15?
15, right. They haven't seen the car,
Well,
and
they haven't seen it yet.
they have not seen it. They
How
do
come
it, it's the way these state vendors do it. And to be honest with you, the car has a lot of nicks and scratches, and I tried to, when I did the Kelly Blue Book trade-in value, I did it based on,
The
the
condition
computer
it's in.
tells you, yeah, is there bubbling rust on it? Yes. What I would do, first of all, is because there's a couple of Crown Vics still in the town's fleet, I would definitely rotate the tires out, because the tires are in
Mm-hmm.
decent shape. And the battery is a relatively new battery. We put that in December. Take the battery out. Exactly, take the battery out. My other thought was, speaking with Sergeant Sheehan and just talking with Doug on the way in, was they auction cars off, equipment off, periodically. Take the car, do what we need to get all our stuff off it that we want, park it in the back, and then when Doug has his auction, the money goes right back into the general fund, and if we make more than $300, the town is a little bit of a hero.
Just through the chair, if I could just add to that, was that the Chevy dealership that was telling you
Yes,
$300?
yeah.
Well, they don't want a Crown Vic on their lot, so.
Well, they do both.
If you want,
Liberty does both.
if you want, I'll try to do it through Dennis,
Yeah.
through MHQ.
Why, when you're doing one of yours?
When we're getting our cars, and get
Yeah.
3 and see if we get 2,000 plus
Yeah.
for that.
Okay.
Right. But it is an
Just- just a-
03 car, that's a shot, yeah.
It's an 03?
It is an 03. So it's an older vehicle, and they know it has a police package in it, and it's, was a police cruiser at first and then became a fire car, so.
Through the chair, can I ask a question?
Sure.
How many miles does it have on it?
112,000. Not a lot for.
Which is not a lot for a 10-year-old
10-year-old
car, 11
right.
technically with the
Right.
model years, so,
Right, yeah,
okay.
but, I mean, that's where
Yeah,
we're at.
so
Doug
you
and I
wanna
will
work with, okay, great,
Yeah.
great.
I guess the question would be is if he can get more, that would be the route to go.
Right.
And if we can't, we'll save it for the trade-in. Save it for, not the trade-in,
Yeah.
save
For
it
the
for the
auction?
auction.
That's a great idea.
That's my opinion, because
That's
you
fine.
gotta get more than $300 for a car.
Right,
at a-
because
you know.
I'll be working with Mr. Bro later on this week, but I have all the package ready to go for the bid to purchase the car, which we need to do it relatively soon, because, so we can get this model year. If we wait much longer, we have to wait for the 14s, which is probably a September delivery, and also an increase in price, which we don't want to have.
And insurance.
Right.
And another thought, if you're getting new, are you getting new cruisers? I don't wanna mix departments here, but would they take another vehicle and trade in addition to, you know, just thinking about it, like suppose you could get $2,000 for it in trade. You know, that way we get $2,000 for it, even
Well,
though
that's
it
what he's
doesn't.
gonna ask, I
Yeah,
think,
even though it
right?
doesn't directly affect you, it
That's
doesn't,
fi-
it doesn't, it only, it theoretically hurts you to the extent of $300, because that's what they were gonna offer you in trade,
Right,
so.
yeah.
Oh, you might even throw in the old car that Don Mackey had used as well. I think that's a 98. So we had that parked on the lot waiting for the auction. We would sell that. We judge the auction by how many bikes are in the basement. How Sergeant Manley can navigate through if he falls down.
Then you have a sale. Well, I'm glad you have a formal, formal plan of attack there. All right. So
So-
we will wait on that to hear what happens with, but in any event, I guess what we're saying is
We
it's
can
not
vote-
gonna get.
It's not gonna get traded in for $300.
Right.
Right. And then Doug will discuss the other trade-in with his group
Right.
after at the time.
And if
Perfect.
push comes to shove, it'll go to an auction.
In auction,
Right.
right.
Okay.
Very good.
And if push comes to shove, it doesn't sell there, the guys would love to cut it up behind the fire station.
I hate when you say push when it comes to a car, but anyways.
Really?
And we cut, anybody wants to
I
donate a car?
donated a Taurus wagon,
Yep.
and my kids were mortified because
The
they were little
more
at the time.
training
and
we can do
they
cutting
snuck-
cars up, the better.
Yeah. Next time they saw it, the roof was ripped back, and my kids were like, "That's our car."
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the revolving chiefs.
Oh, guess I should have stayed.
Sir?
How are you?
Exercise. Hello, Chief.
Maybe you can trade in one of the Crown Vics for one of your knees that you're having
Yes,
done. Yeah.
definitely. Definitely.
You need a little metal for that knee, right?
How are you?
Titanium, good things.
Okay. First item is an update on the Shred Day, which unfortunately I missed, and the Drug Take Back Day.
Yes, both were, I guess they really weren't that well attended. I think it's kind of at a saturation point. I know the drug take back, they're doing it twice a year, spring and fall. And it may have reached its point right now, so maybe they'll cut it back just to do it once a year. The Shred Day kind of, seems like everybody and their brother's doing it now. I know the credit union was doing it, some of the banks are doing it. We still have it locked in for the September date. We'll do it again.
Okay.
It's been successful. I know Carolyn's had a number of canned goods donated to the open
Yeah.
pantry there, so it's been positive in that sense.
Did you have the kids from the high school?
Yeah, this
helping?
year I think we had like 8, and so
Wow.
we just set times. They ate all the damn all the donuts. I'm sorry. Feed the masses, but some years we have 4, some years we have 6, and this
Yeah.
year we had a very large number. So it was good.
Yeah. Good.
It would have been ideal if we had that appliance recycling going on too.
Yeah, that's a plus.
We could have used their muscles moving some of the equipment.
Provided
there.
they show up in a timely fashion.
True.
Okay, the second item is National Night Out.
Yes, we're going to continue it again this year. It's scheduled for Tuesday, August 6th, 5:30 to 8 at the East Long Meadow Field. It's not the athletic field. It's in between.
It's where we
I
have
think
our,
where the
where we have our Rotary
concerts
concerts,
are.
yeah, next to the tennis courts, in
I had
between
s-
tennis courts and football
Yep.
field.
I had sent a letter to Gordon Smith, and he was going to present it to the school committee.
What time is it?
5:30
to
to 8 o'clock.
We have a
They start setting up a little earlier, but if you can make it, by all means, come on by. I'll
We have
try
a
to.
Selectmen meeting.
Yeah, we usually have it in the same room we had it the day right before the town meeting.
Right.
Because if they still want us, in a perfect world, we're judges of a car show, by the way.
By the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or we can put
Do
you
we
in
get
the
to
jelly
judge them
bean
by taking
counting.
them for a ride first?
No.
No.
You could
The
take
rules
Gary-
have changed, I don't know.
You could take Gary Delisle's orange Volkswagen Thing for a ride if you'd like.
Staff car.
Okay, so that's great, and you want me to do the usual?
Yes, please.
Okay, no problem.
But make sure the freezer is fixed.
Works, yeah, that's not, yeah.
You want to fill us in on the usual later?
I usually, because I get the ice cream for the Rotary Club concerts during the course of the summer, I get the ice cream from the same very generous gentleman for the National Night Out.
Very
Except
nice.
I don't have to sell it, they give it out, so I just,
And I think fire does the hot dogs as well.
yeah, so I don't have to do
it's
a thing, so. All right, next item is Police Academy graduation.
Yes, Friday, June 28th at 10 o'clock at the Amphitheater at STCC. I think formal invitations will be coming out as it gets closer to that
Okay.
date.
Great,
Um,
sounds good.
Graduates do we have?
What's that?
How many
Two.
graduates do we have?
At this
Two
point,
right
two. And then the next item is the 9/11 award ceremony recognizing Officer Scala, which is,
That's
June-
going to be Tuesday, June 4th
Yep.
at Mechanics Hall in Worcester at 10 o'clock in the morning. That was circumstances. Scott was the dispatcher when he received a telephone call from a young lady from town who was reporting what appears to be someone breaking into her house. She was home alone, and she took efforts to try to contain herself within the house.
and when you say young lady, very young lady. Like teens?
14,
Yeah.
13, 14 years
Yeah.
old. So she'll be, I went out and purchased a plaque on behalf of the department to present to her as well. Scott's receiving it as the call taker and coordinating everything, and I just wanted to give her something on behalf of her efforts and what she did, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
She stayed on the line,
Mhm.
kept talking to us, and that subject just recently was sentenced. I think he got 2.5 to 5 years.
Good.
So it was
Okay, good.
good work all the way around.
Very good.
We can't use it, we can't say her name.
I don't want
I
to say it
don't think
right
so,
now
because
because
she's
she's a
a minor.
juvenile.
It's too bad, I'd like to congratulate
Yeah.
her, maybe you
Right.
can tell us.
I can share that with you after the ceremony if you
Okay,
like, and
that'd
maybe
be great.
the board send out a certificate of some
Yeah,
type.
that'd be nice, yeah.
because
That's a
of
good
the
idea.
journey, I won't be able to make it to
Okay,
this.
and I think that's it from our end.
All right.
We let you off easy today.
Go home, go to bed. No.
See you, Chief.
Sir?
And I will reach for you, so you'll have to.
Later.
All right, next we have, under old business, we have a recommendation to fill someone's vacancy on the East Long Meadow Housing Authority. We won't say who, but she's sitting to my left. And I have to ask town council again, this is not a paid position, but this person is also a client of mine. Do I have to leave?
Yes.
Okay. I will recuse myself from this vote for the next couple seconds. Does anyone want water while I go?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So do you want me to?
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
Okay. So, this is a letter from the folks on the Housing Authority Board, and
Mhm.
they are recommending Mr. Phil LaRosa, to take and fulfill the rest of the term that I was filling, and that term will expire April 2016. So he would
Okay.
fill that term until it was up for re-election.
Okay,
So, do I hear a motion to accept the recommendation of the Housing Authority to elect Mr. Phil LaRosa to finish my term?
so moved.
Okay, I'll second out of necessity. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay, done. How far
Okay,
did Paul go? Is this called dead air?
All
You
right,
pausing?
so,
Does-
Mr. Federici?
Mr. Federici? It doesn't take long.
I didn't know if you wanted me to keep going. Poll location hearings would be next.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I know you had it, so.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we have, next item is a poll location hearing recommendations, which I don't think there were any, there are 3 of them, right? There's Prospect and Rufino, and Albano and Prospect, or something like that, and, or Albano Drive, and there were no complaints from any neighbors.
There were, no, there was no opposition.
Okay.
recommendation would be to approve all three as three separate votes.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the poll location for Prospect Street at Rufino Road?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to accept the poll location for Prospect Street?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
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 And is there a recommendation for the poll location on Albano Drive?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next is a municipal space study, Nick?
Just a general question back to the board from the committee as to what direction and how we should proceed here. We have the materials, the space study,
Yeah.
and looking for some ideas from the board, from direction from the board as to maybe what we should do next. We're assuming that the committee, if it was really just a working group that the board had assigned Mr. Quimby to head up to sort of usher the whole space study. Now that we have that in hand, and I don't necessarily expect direction from the board tonight, but want the board to know that we'll enable and want to know what we should be preparing for, what the board would like to see done next.
Okay.
Certainly-
Actually, for some thought for my fellow board members, my thought is it would be great to get the people who put the report together with our department heads and basically go over the generalities of the report and explain what they have in mind for moving things, because I know there's going to be some pushback from people, but if we get everybody together and you try to get everybody realizing that you're working for the common good, of the town's workers, then, maybe I'm sort of, maybe we can broker some sort of peace accord and get everybody to agree with the plan.
You have your regular department head meeting on a monthly basis.
We do,
If
yes.
we wanted to participate in that, you would have, obviously publicize it if we all three wanted to be there, but
Mhm.
that might be, being they already have that on their calendars, all of the department heads, that might be an option.
Okay, yeah, we may want to check with them on that, because they may have some, I don't know what kind of itinerary they have for their meetings, so, we don't want to keep them there 3 hours if they're planning on an hour, so.
Yeah, it's usually a lunch meeting at
Is
the
it?
Council on Aging.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. Find out, maybe we can find out when their next meeting is.
See if the board wants to post a meeting for the department heads meeting, is that?
I'm trying to think if we need the whole board there, though. That's the whole thing. I mean, I'm just thinking to present the ideas. If we can have a representative, maybe from the board. It's fine to post it. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like we're not going to post it, but if we can post it, and if depending on when it is, obviously based on our schedules, if we can all make it, that'd be great. If not, then at least hopefully 2 of us will be there. So, yeah, to find out,
It would be June 12th.
is that what it is?
Yes.
They're
Somebody just whispered it in my ear.
Okay,
Really?
Yeah.
all right. So that would be, so we have a meeting on the
June.
11th, so yeah, that's fine with me. That
Okay.
is a Wednesday, yep.
That would be the second Wednesday, so it would be June 12th, noon, at Council on Aging.
Okay.
And,
Actually, at the last meeting, we're gonna do it at the studio.
Oh,
Oh, the new studio? Okay.
so, that being said, as opposed to meeting, it will be open to the public.
Okay. Great. Give the public a chance to see you in your studio.
that's very nice.
Great.
And
Okay.
that's at noontime, correct?
Yes.
All right, great.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I know Devin kind of touched on it. Do they already have their agenda made up? And generally, their meetings aren't public. Is there anything that you
Department head.
have that's coming up on the department head meeting that needs to be private? Anything that prevents you from getting on with your regular business?
I think that for the purposes of this meeting, we'd probably stick with this item as the agenda item.
Fantastic, great.
Or if they have something else, if they meet at 12, we could always schedule this meeting for 12:30.
That
Right,
sounds
or
like,
we'd-
And that way,
we'd
you know, if we
we'd
had to.
schedule around it.
Yeah.
I think
So
that
Okay.
would be
we
a
have
good
our-
idea.
Okay.
Yes,
Very
that
good.
way that would allow them to
Do their
take care of their
thing, yeah.
business and
Yeah, that makes sense.
won't be intrusive.
Okay, next item we have are our meeting dates. We have so far June 11th and 25th, July 9th and 23rd, and August 6th and 20th, which means we missed one somewhere during the course of there because I would think there'd be an odd number of meetings in a quarter of the year, but
11th
that's
and
neither here
I
nor
think
there. 'Cause
that's-
we usually,
I think we catch up with it in September.
okay. Okay, because I noticed we have, in September, we have 3rd and the 17th, and I assume the third one would be, if we had a special
No, it'd
town
be-
meeting?
No, yeah, this third one would be possibly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's held in September. If not, it sounds like it'll be October 1st, so. Okay, next item is the
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I know it's still a bit early, the August 6th meeting.
Yes.
Another option for the board would be to hold the meeting early, as you were
Yes.
discussing at the high school.
I believe we did that last year. I think we held it at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock meeting, probably.
Because we wanted to get out to the National Night Out.
Mm-hmm.
That's just to bring up that it would be more likely to hold the meeting at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
That way, in case you have business that is gonna run,
Right.
you know, a little.
That's fine.
So
Yeah, that'll work.
we'll plan on the August 6th meeting beginning at 5?
Yes, at the high school in the same room we had the meeting in prior to
Great.
prior to our town meeting. Which, speaking of town meeting, I just wanted to commend my two fellow newbie select persons for doing a fine job at the town meeting. I know it's a heck of an indoctrination, and you both did fabulously, so.
Yeah. Can I take a moment to explain why I had to read all of that information? And not be able to say I waived the reading or as written? And that, may
That I don't know. I don't know.
Well, my understanding is that because we didn't put it in the reminder, I didn't have that option
Oh, I
available
see.
to me. And we got it like 15 minutes, 15 minutes right before the meeting.
Yep.
And
You did a
and
fabulous
I
job,
I
Angela.
just want to go on record as saying April Fool's is coming up. And I plan to have a good time
The
in the hot
assessors,
time.
the assessors are gonna use you next time they go out to do some plot plans and surveys.
No, I wouldn't advise that, but I just wanted to explain that, because I know some people, I don't like to hear my voice, and some people were probably wondering, why is she reading the entire thing?
Yeah.
It was certainly because I had to, not because I wanted to.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for allowing me
And
that.
our moderator's comment at the end was priceless.
Oh, absolutely, my heart went boom.
That was great.
Can I repeat it? Mm.
That was actually priceless, you're right.
Yeah, I almost had a non-Christian moment.
Our next item is the cultural council candidate. Nick?
This is an item, there's a vacancy on the cultural council, and there is a candidate, member who would like to be considered.
Okay.
The conflict is that I'm currently on this board. I had expressed an interest in it before becoming a member of the Board of Selectmen. My interest is still there. I just want to make sure, I wanted to make sure I put my name in. There's still a vacancy, willing to serve. I'm not sure, perhaps we should confer with council
I
to
was just gonna
see.
say, I don't know if you can answer off the cuff, but our esteemed town council is here. Is there a conflict?
What was the question?
Selectman Thorpe is on this board of selectmen, and she wants to be appointed to the cultural commission.
I understand that I wouldn't be able to vote for myself.
Cultural council.
And
The cultural,
just to educate me, the cultural council
Cultural
is a
council.
municipal entity?
they are a committee that does cultural things for our town and making sure that there's a diverse representation. They sponsor the
Rotary
boy,
Club.
the
The
Rotary Club.
We get $1,000 grant from them almost every year.
And they all,
from the cultural counter to the cultural council to the Rotary Club for the purposes of our concert series.
So anybody can apply to have, they have apply for a grant from them.
But
And, okay.
But I guess my question is it's a municipal board or council appointed by the Board of Selectmen?
It is.
There is my recollection is, and I apologize, I wasn't
That's
aware.
okay.
Well, you know,
there was a question.
worst comes to worst, we can address that the next meeting if you want
No,
to do
no,
some research.
Yeah.
there's a bylaw that was adopted some years ago that specifically indicated that the Board of Selectmen were not to be members of any other board or commission in the town
Okay, then that's it.
as members. Now, I believe that bylaw is still in effect, but
Okay.
I
We
would
can check on
check that for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, all right.
The other way you could be the liaison to that committee.
That's
too.
true.
There you go.
And that's fine too.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine.
I will check.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
great, thank you.
Sorry to get you up here prematurely. All right, under new business, we have a request from Team Brielle's Brigade for a July 20th event. Let's see. This is the Pan Mass Challenge. I'm trying to see what,
We have one for June 8th. Oh, no,
What's
I
that? No,
don't
it's
have that
July-
one.
this is
Okay.
July
This is the
20th.
event on July 20th
I'm
from.
trying to think, Heritage Park, okay. So they're
Wonderful.
looking for our permission to use Heritage Park for this event?
Well-
Yes, ultimately, there'll be, the board would need to approve the use of the park and also the several
Of a fee.
items here that are proposed within the park for that day, including the proposed bounce houses or golf cart train rides and arcade on wheels, other types of events associated with it. Or anyway, this is sort of a first look for the board to take a look and maybe at least consider approval of the use of the park. And then this has been sent around to the other departments that would normally
Be affected.
review and provide parameters for what can happen and so forth. You notice, I believe in here that it, for one moment, I just want to make sure that
May
Are you looking for
I,
approval?
Chair?
They've had preliminary approval from the police and rec departments and would like to present
Right.
all of their proper licensing certifications and vendor information.
Well,
Sure.
I guess I have a concern about the bounce house, and I'm sure we can look into that a little further. It does say that they're licensed, but,
And they're all fully insured.
yeah, but there's something about bounce houses, that just kind of is like a red flag for me. I don't know if it's a red flag that's relative, but I think we definitely want to look at that. With regards to the waiving of the permits and inspection fees, have we done that in the past?
Yes,
We
yes.
have done that in the
We have
past?
for nonprofits and,
Okay, so so we typically waive fees for nonprofits?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm sorry,
No,
no,
I'm
I'm not
good.
familiar with that.
I know that, this is a learning experience, so.
there
Okay.
was, Mr. Chairman, there will also, at least they're indicating that there will be catered
Yes,
food
food, beer, wine.
and beer and
yes.
wine for the event. So
Mhm.
for any of those, the town would normally require to be listed as an additional insured on the organization or the caterer's license. So those details are forthcoming.
Okay.
But this is, because it's still relatively a tight timeframe, want to bring this to the board's attention.
Okay.
And
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna assume if we okay this by June 11th, it should be fine for July 20th.
that would be my assumption.
Provided, all the information is in as far as all their questions being answered and whatnot.
Right, so they have to do their due diligence with the other departments and.
Right,
get
and also,
approval.
yeah, and also regarding, some items regarding the bounce house, and just to get, make sure that they are fully insured, and that, as you said, that they add us as on their insurance. So, not us, but the town.
Mhm.
All right, so we will table this and take it up at the next meeting, hopefully with full information.
That's what I anticipate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is a request from the Masonic Temple for a one-day liquor license, beer and wine, Saturday, June 8th, 2013, 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. in conjunction with a baby shower. Is there a motion, and let's see, insurance is on file for these events. Is there a motion to approve the one-day liquor license for June 8th in conjunction with the baby shower?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item is a one-day liquor license, Saturday, July 13th, 2013, 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. in conjunction with a 50th anniversary. And both events obviously are taking place at 43 Chestnut Street. Is there a motion to approve the one-day liquor license for Saturday, July 13th?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next item is a request for a private way on Worthy Avenue.
Okay, I guess that one's mine. I had the displeasure of having my GPS trying to find Worthy Avenue. When I went, turned into the way, it was paved. And then it went a little further where it was unpaved. And there was I want to say about a 2 to 3 foot drop. And then the way continued and it was paved. I spoke with the DPW about it, and they have confirmed that it is a private way in that one piece where it's unpaved. But and it was dark when I went. Of course, I could see it at nighttime. I can show you the pictures on my phone if you'd like. But I just think it would be, for safety purposes, it would be prudent to put a private way sign right at the beginning of that place, and then right at the end. Well, you can enter it from either side of Worthy, just to be safe. And they said they just need a notice from us. I certainly would like to check with council to be sure that there's no issue with that. If that doesn't put us in a position where we're liable by placing that sign there, but something needs to be done because it's clearly unsafe.
Well, I guess the position the board could take is to vote to recommend to the Board of Public Works that they install private way signs at both ends of the area.
Right.
More signs that say end of public way, if that portion of the paved portion is in fact a public way in the community. The only issue with that is that you technically open the door to signage for all of the streets that may be in a similar condition, and I can't tell you how many private ways or partially private ways may exist, and there are some. I don't know how many there are. But it's clearly within your authority to make the request, but the roadway and the signage of the roadway is under the control of the Board of Public Works.
Right, and they had said that they would be willing to put it up as long as we were to make the request for that. However, I don't want to open up Pandora's box, and I would, the question was, if we do that for one, should it really, the person who needs to make it safe would be the person who owns the property. So
private ways are not the responsibility of the municipality
Right.
to maintain.
right, so could we ask for the property owner to put the signs up? I'm just asking.
No, well, I only make faces because that's what I do. I always make faces when I'm asked a question.
I'm just concerned about the safety. I mean, somebody's got to do it. I don't think it's a question of whether or not, especially when it's safety. It's just a matter of who does it and what are the ramifications.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If it's not a private way now, I assume?
It
Or
is.
part-
is.
or- Okay.
It's a private way,
Oh, okay, but there's no sign.
correct.
Oh, okay.
There's a part of the street that's a
Okay.
private way. The paved part isn't private.
Normally, I won't say normally, but many communities don't identify their public or private ways.
Okay.
And they wait until there's a claim for usually it's damage to a vehicle or someone falls.
I can make a claim. I mean, my Mercedes went. So, I mean,
I guess.
but I'm really not in it to make a claim. I just really would hate for somebody else to
No.
have that same experience.
My point was directed to you, Madam Selectman. It was to say normally that the DPWs don't identify public and private portions of the street. They leave
Okay.
it to if there is an incident that occurs, they let the person make the claim that they've obtained some, or incurred some type of injury, and then the review of the records, municipal records, turned over to the law department, and you make a response to the individual saying, it's a public way, we'll turn it over to our carrier, or it's a private way, you should make your claim against the property owner. So the determination as to when or who's responsible is usually made when the person incurs some type of injury. Only because it's too hard really to designate, to guess as to exactly where the boundary line is for the public or private way in a lot of the streets. This street may be fairly easy to do, but it's also some man hours for the Department of Public Works to go out and try to identify all of those locations. But in this instance, the more appropriate sign, if the municipality were going to put it up, would be to put a sign at the end of the portion of the accepted portion of the way to say, end of, public way ends, or something of that nature, and then let the abutters to the private way have to determine whether or not they want to take some action to make the road more passable.
And to address the concern that you've already addressed about opening the door,
Right.
someone must know how many private ways we have
I
in
doubt
town?
it.
No?
I doubt it, because the private ways aren't under municipal control. They're ways that are in the town, but they're not maintained by the town.
Right.
So you could say we know there's some paper, and there are also paper streets,
Right.
which are streets that aren't even constructed,
Right.
but on paper
Paper,
exist. And those property owners are responsible to keep
Right.
that area safe, not necessarily for street purposes. So there's a lot of different issues that arise out of the questions of how to identify the streets.
Okay.
I don't know if I've answered your question.
So I guess the point is, how do we proceed? Because should we request the DPW to
I would
put a sign
suggest-
that says not a public,
Or I like the
I might leave it's the Board of Public
end
Works
of public
decision.
way?
You might suggest that
They take a
the
look
vote
at it.
be that the board
Take a look at
request
it.
the Board of Public Works to
Review.
install a sign that designates that portion of Worthy Street is
where the actual
either
road
not a public way or is not an accepted portion by the town, something that way. They can put at the end of the public way, accepted portion ends, or public way ends, or something of that point.
Now, just to clarify, it ends and then it starts again, so there's two entrances, so it would have to go at the beginning and then at the other end.
Right. That's not an uncommon situation either, to have a street
Really?
accepted. Yeah, it really is. It's not uncommon to see where you have a street that's accepted part of way, not accepted in, accepted in another section.
Okay, it's new to me.
All right, so
okay.
is there a motion to, I'm trying to think of what you just said. Is there a motion to request from the DPW signage denoting the end of the public way on both ends of Worthy Avenue?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, Board of Health.
Oh, it's me, is it? Okay, with regards to the health agent, I am pleased to say that we did get some responses to the ad that was run. We have interviewed the candidates. We do have a viable candidate and a recommendation, but I would think because of, what do I want to say, negotiations, we'll talk about that in,
Next meeting?
no, at the.
Oh, I see, in executive session.
An executive session.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
The beaver issue on Calkins,
Oh, wait a minute.
Madam
I'm
Chair,
sorry,
with respect to the candidate themselves, though.
okay,
I would.
Help me.
I would defer to council, but I think that recommendation would still be in public.
okay.
But the
Even,
negotiation portion of it.
Okay, so the candidate
Okay.
is,
the candidate that is being recommended, it's, you received 3, people that moved forward. I believe it's the 3rd one. Are we able to, do we want to say names at this point?
Are we gonna have to vote on this?
If I could, through
Okay.
Chair to Council, I've, just want to confirm a question here.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we able to say names even though we haven't made the offer? We're just making the recommendation?
I have, again, I have questions for Council through the Chair. I have an understanding, I have an answer to the question.
Oh,
Which
okay,
is my
so-
understanding, but I want to confirm with
Absolutely.
Council. So through the Chairman, if I could just.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Council, the situation here is that there is a candidate of, a certain number of candidates that were interviewed for this temporary position. And there is a recommendation ready to be made by the Chairman to the board, to the full board. This individual has been vetted by designees, the Chairman and myself, to make the recommendation to the board. My understanding is that that would in fact have acted in a sense as a screening committee. And so therefore the recommendation to the board would be a public knowledge situation rather than an executive session.
The recommendation would be a public action by the screening committee. You've got a final candidate, the recommendation is being made to the board, and then the recommendation, well, I assume would be made subject to successful negotiation of the candidate who we're in contact with.
And just to clarify even more, so the name of the candidate would be, the naming of the candidate would be a public action, but then any discussion of subsequent negotiations of terms would be an executive session item.
Well, the discussions by the board with respect to what the offer is that they want to make to the candidate would be, yes. Now, the caveat to that is that there's no reason for the candidates not being identified.
Okay.
There's no issue with existing employment or anything like that, correct?
That is,
To my knowledge, there is not. However, the recommendations, the referrals have not been confirmed as of yet.
The recommendation should be.
No, the referrals, excuse me, not referrals, the
References.
references, thank you.
That's-
Rah. So,
I said the
that's,
wrong word, but-
that's the only reason. I don't have a problem saying the candidate's name. I just want to make sure that it's proper.
It's appropriate to do that. I just think that it might make, if you believe that if the references were not going to be satisfactory, that concern, and then you would want to withdraw your recommendation of an offer to this person, then I would suggest that the entire process be completed
Before we name.
before you move forward with identifying a successful candidate.
Then I think this is what I'll do. I'll make a decision here. We will put off for letting you know exactly who the recommendation is going to be at this time. I will say to you that we have been told by the MDPH that if we need them, they will fill in for an emergency situation. We have interviewed, and we do have viable candidates. We will go ahead and move forward and go through with the
References.
thank you, the references, to make sure that this is the candidate for us. And sometimes you have to move a little slower to make sure that it's done right, and I just prefer to do that. I know we really wanted someone, and it looks really good. I can tell you it's very promising. And thank you to Nick and his help with those interviews.
If I may,
Yes.
the temporary person through the MDPH, is that somebody we could get
No.
now if we needed to? Because I'm noting in your next group of items here, we've got quite a few things that involve the health agent that we don't have. So, especially items that go beyond the scope of someone, beyond the scope of, it's Title V stuff.
And our next meeting's not until June 11th.
Right, so it may behoove us to get someone in here just to tend to some of these matters, or at least get the ball rolling before we get the
Okay, so
person.
now you've got me flipping back. Okay. The candidate's name is Amy.
Well, wait a minute now. Is this the candidate that has to be,
I wouldn't expect that her references would not check out.
but you never, a professor once told me, never assume. And I won't tell you
This
why.
is true.
But
I already know.
But in any event, because if for some reason this person didn't show up didn't end up being the person because of an issue with references, everyone would know that was the reason. So I guess what I'm saying is
Yeah, so I guess
until
we have
until we find a permanent person, can we get somebody from the MDPH just to take care of
These
immediate
specific
items
issues.
within the next 2 weeks?
I think what they were talking about was being more so as a reference.
Okay. That may be something we might want to check, just because, like I said, we don't have anyone.
Or you can have another meeting before then
That's true, we could do that.
and just put that on there,
Yeah,
on the schedule.
okay.
Because I think it's going to be something that we can get done in a matter of 3 to 4 days
Okay,
at
good.
most.
All right.
So if you want to
Sounds good.
schedule
Might I suggest we should schedule a meeting for Thursday night?
that's fine.
Or
Are you available
either
for
Thursday?
Thursday night just for,
I can't do
Tomorrow, well, actually, thinking about tomorrow's Wednesday, it would be Friday.
on
If we can
Friday?
do
The
it
48-hour notice.
Can we do it like relatively early?
You
Or
could do it
6,
as early
maybe
as,
6?
as early as you want it posted tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, how about, 6 would be fine. If,
On Friday?
with all due respect, Nick, if you don't load it up with other items.
Is
we
that
can
going to
do
be
it
the only item? That will be
Because
the
I've
only
seen that
item,
movie
right?
too. We
No,
gotta be-
I'm serious.
He's
Because
not answering.
I'll be in Washington, so I'll participate via phone.
Can we do that now? We still do it? Okay,
The board has that in place.
okay. All right, that's fine.
And that's going to be the only item I'm waiting for you to confirm
Well,
that.
wait, I need to, what date
Yeah,
are we talking
We're
about?
talking
This
about
Friday.
Friday.
This Friday, the 31st,
Mhm.
at 5 o'clock?
6 o'clock. Or it could be 5.
Could be fine.
Okay,
Okay, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock?
Okay, very good.
Nick still hasn't confirmed that that would be the only item.
I will do my level best to keep that the only item.
Nick, don't make me use this, okay? It's
Sounds
gonna be
like
the
it.
only item.
You sell used cars?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we'll meet and then that will take care of some of
Selectman
that.
Thorpe, we can fight fire with fire. We can table anything else that comes up. so-
Yeah, okay. All right, the beaver issue on Calkins Avenue, I am going to defer to Nick to explain that. I do think he would do a better job of explaining that.
So in just a brief explanation, there is an issue there that an owner's brought to our attention with beavers being investors as they are, and unfortunately causing issues relative to water and having that kind of an effect towards their property and so forth. This would typically be a situation where the health agent would go out and, along with perhaps a member of the Conservation Commission, DPW and so forth, go take a look at it, judge the scope of the issue, meet with the resident and so on, and then formulate a strategy. So I think until such time as we have a health agent, or if the chairman wants to go in the meantime to at least take a look at that. The board has recently, within the last 2 months or so, I believe it was, there was an issue that the board made an emergency order. Maybe it was more than a few months ago, but
It was
Okay.
probably a year ago.
and allowed for the trapping, the humane trapping of the animals, and then Once that was done, the subsequent measures were taken, demolition, as I understand it, of some of the structure and alleviating the water, trying to get a better flow and so forth. Same situation here. So one of the questions for the board is whether or not you would consider issuing an emergency order in the event that it's necessary to trap them. It's my understanding that they are that we're out of season to be able to trap them without an emergency order.
Okay.
So this is one of the things for the board to consider.
Okay. So how about I go and visit that wonderful place and see what our beavers are up to, and then we can make that emergency order on Friday?
Oh, you just added to the agenda.
I know, I did.
Okay.
I did, but I can't make an emergency order until I see it, I would think.
Okay.
Unless you've been out there, Nick, already.
I have not.
You have not, so.
I haven't, but if you need some boots, I have some.
And
These boots are made for walking.
through the chair,
They're rubber.
Yes.
if in fact the water, as they said, is up to the foundation, it may be something we want to take care of very
Right away.
quickly. So,
Okay. All right, will do.
Okay.
Okay, then the Title V matter, that's before us.
Yeah, it's okay.
Different type of matter. The principle here again is a request for a waiver that typically would be, recommendation would be made from the health agent to the Board of Health. There's a situation here, as I understand it, is a buyer, well, there's a transaction going on, a proposed transaction going on, where there's a request for a waiver of the requirement to hook up to existing sewer, where there was a Title V inspection done on a septic system that resulted in a failure of that.
Right.
And so the system happened, the hookup's within 500 feet, it's like 416 feet or something like that. The issue would be whether or not the Board of Health would want to request a waiver. There are reasons under the statute that the local Board of Health has jurisdiction to grant that waiver. But in meeting with the Mass
Right.
DPH officials that we did a couple of weeks ago, and then learning, getting educated more on it, and actually meeting with council, getting more educated about it, that the reasons really need to be, should be very compelling, whether very
Right.
expensive, there's something about the topography, some other sort of hardship. I can report to the board that I had heard from one of the legal representatives that is to one of the parties in the transaction, had contacted and wanted to get an idea of what was going on. At the end of the conversation, it was my understanding that that individual was going to go back to the parties, have a discussion, and then present, or presumably come back with either more information or not. We have not heard from the original party now for a week or so, and so what I want to present to the board is just the idea, the request in general, and then to see whether or not you would want to wait until you have a health agent on board, and what the directive is on that, or if the board is willing to maybe ask a few more questions of council this evening and come up with a decision, not to force an issue, because it has certainly consequences for public health and financial consequences as well.
Right, and putting in a septic system, I mean, there are all kinds of requirements for its ability to work and the type of ground that it's in, and
Well-
so those are not questions that I'm prepared to even begin to answer.
It does have a septic system, from what I understand. It's
It does
just
have
failed.
one right now,
And
but it failed.
To repla- it needs to
If I
be
may,
re-
through the chair,
right,
I'm sorry.
No, no,
I'm
I'm saying, no, you're the chairperson, I'm
Go
the one
ahead.
who gotta
Go-
apologize.
go ahead. No, that's all right.
One thing I'd like to find out is, obviously, we're talking about hardship, that what they're stating here is, in order to connect to the town sewers, it's gonna cost about $15,000. I'd like to know what it's gonna cost to
Replace it.
upgrade or
It would cost-
to fix the septic system, to get it into properly working order, and obviously that may be a determination if it costs, and this is just, I'm just speaking for myself, but if it costs $3,000 to get the septic system up and running as opposed to spending $15,000
Right.
to connect to town sewer, that may be deemed a hardship by the board, but I'm just speaking for myself,
Right.
so I'd like to get more information in that regard also.
But we were advised that it would be more than $15,000
What's that?
to put in another septic
To
system.
replace it?
Okay, because from
It
what it
says
says here,
yeah.
estimates to replace a septic system are far less expensive than the sewer connection, so that's
And
why I like.
that's from the experts that we had spoken with. They said that is not necessarily a true statement.
Okay,
So we
Um,
need more information.
Yeah,
we
we
do,
need more
we do
information.
need more information, and the urgency, unfortunately, does not trump us not getting more, doing more fact-finding.
right, it would behoove them to get us the information if they want to progress towards closing on the property, so.
Exactly. And there's some other little issues as well. So that's just for informational purposes. I guess we can send a letter to the gentleman and ask him for more information.
More information.
Yeah. I saw your hand move. Is there something you wanted to say?
I guess the
You make
question
space.
the board might consider is, in order to take it off your agenda, rather than carrying it over for a month or 2 or 3 for responses, would be to perhaps deny the request for a waiver without prejudice if and when the applicant submits additional information that would warrant reconsideration of the
I
request.
think that's a great idea.
Mhm.
Do I hear a motion?
So
So-
moved.
Do I hear a
Sorry.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank
Okay. So Nick, you'll let them know? Thank you. Okay, the food application that stands in front of you?
Yes, this is, you have in your hard copies, there's just another matter. We have application for a business, although typically the board will have new business come in and meet with them. There's applications, let me see here.
Ranchara.
That's right, yeah, for the,
Yeah, right. you
Produce?
see- Right. Ranja, let's see, Meadow
Ranja.
Produce.
mhm.
And so we have applications before the Board of Health that would, again, require a health agent to go out and inspect. And also the board would usually have a new business in particular come in for an appointment. Bring this here just to.
Okay. So we can table this until Friday, yes?
They, if the,
Well, we need a health
We
agent.
have to get a health
Right.
agent out.
So we have to get a health agent to go there.
to go there and, right, and so
We
forth.
So we
But
can.
we have to find a
we
health
can ta-
agent
We have to
first.
find a, yeah, so it'll have to be tabled until
Okay.
after we find a health agent.
Okay, because
On
I
Friday.
know, I heard from the gentleman's landlord that he's ready.
He's
Chomp-
ready and
he's
ready
chomping
to
at the
go.
bit,
He is
yes.
chomping at the bit.
Yes.
But again, sometimes we have to move a little slower to make
Right.
sure we're doing it correctly.
Okay.
Okay,
Property
And
complaints.
just
Various
to
complaints, he
make
was
the
saying.
board aware that there are, various property complaints out there. I appreciate that the board is doing its due diligence and is looking to, even in the temporary nature for this replacement, if you will, that I'm hopeful that, that on Friday, there will be a recommendation that can be made. And I would still ask the board this evening to, in executive session, regardless of the individual, because the individual won't be discussed this
Right.
evening, that there can be some discussion about what the terms will be, so that those
Oh,
terms
absolutely.
Okay.
can
That makes
go
sense.
right away.
Yep.
And get somebody in here as quickly as possible.
Exactly, agreed.
Okay.
With regards to the complaints that I have in front of me, I guess until I can go and look at them, and,
And/or Friday when if we
And/or
actually
Friday.
get a.
Well, I
get a
can look
health
at it,
inspector.
and then on Friday, I mean, I don't think the person's gonna go out on Friday, but we can note, these aren't, I know to the residents, they may seem urgent, but, high grass is something that I think we can just wait. It'll be okay. So I'm gonna recommend that there's no action on these right now, and I will go out and look at the 3 complaints that you put in front of me. And then, report back on Friday, very quickly on those, and then have the health agent hopefully at that point also confirm.
Okay.
Is that okay? Is that acceptable? Okay, then I think that concludes.
No, you've got more.
Oh, we still have more, my goodness. Nick?
Public health.
The MOU for with Long Meadow. Hopefully you've had a chance to review that. We're looking to, it did expire, and so we're looking to extend that, if you would consider extending that for a couple of months. Did we hear back from?
I did not hear, I made a phone call and did not hear back.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion if it's so your pleasure to extend that for a couple of months more. There is some news that Nick will update us on with regards to the grant, which is the next item on the agenda. So, but if we were to extend this a couple of months, that would give the grant information, the grant proposal to kick in, and we would have our own nurse. But in the meanwhile, we would still need somebody to cover. So I can entertain a motion, if that is so your pleasure, to extend the memorandum of understanding with Long Meadow with regards to our public health nurse.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Sorry, I kind of went out of order.
And that extension was for 60 days?
For 60 days,
Yep.
yes. Okay, Nick, if you don't mind taking over with regards to the grant.
The board has language on a draft memorandum of agreement documents, and council this afternoon provided me with some changes or some clarifications for the language that I didn't present to the board, because what I want to do is go back to the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission and make sure that they'll be acceptable with them and get it cleared up. The good news is we have language to work off of, and I'm hopeful that by June 11th the Board of Health here will be doing its signing, and we can get moving on that. I would just report to the board that, and I haven't had a chance to catch up with PVPC, and again, they've had that transition for the point person, but there seem to be other communities involved, but what the general idea will be is there will be this alliance of several communities, and then ours will be it looks like under the umbrella alliance, an agreement specific to East Long Meadow and Ludlow, which I think is what the board
What we wanted.
envisioned all along.
Good.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry, I misspoke. There is one more item that's with regards to animal control. He is making a request that we accept the 2 carry crates that are being donated by Susan Netter. It has been the experience that we do take a vote to accept these items. They have a value of approximately $110. At the meeting prior to the town meeting, we discussed about a possible fundraiser that he was going to do, and not he wasn't going to do that. The Friends of Animal Control. They haven't come up with a name, so to say, but these 2 items were on that list, and so he certainly has a need for them. So I would recommend that we accept those, and it would entertain a motion.
So moved.
And do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Looking at the draft for the animal control vehicle policy, does anybody have any concerns? I will start off by saying that I would like to see added to this draft, because it has been before us before. However, I would like to see, since it is a town vehicle, I think we should, and I will refer to council also, I'd like to have a driving record of the individuals who are going to be driving town vehicles, and I'd like to see that added, to this vehicle policy, starting with this one. And I'm open for any discussions.
If I may, through the chair, has this been,
Yes.
has this been reviewed by town council? Okay, then I might suggest that you can.
Well,
make-
we're not voting on it, I'm just asking
Okay.
to have it added to
Okay.
there,
then we
to
still-
be
but
considered.
It still would be a good idea to have town council review it before
For
we.
some reason, I thought he had received a copy, but I'll make sure from here on.
Give it a feeling. All right.
Okay, and that is, the employee flu vaccine program for fall of 2013 is going to take place, registration ends on Friday, June 14th. And you're to see your department head, principal, secretary to register and pay for the flu vaccine. The cost of the flu vaccine is $15 per person. Make the checks payable to the town of East Long Meadow. No cash will be accepted and no refunds will be given. So,
So I
that's
guess
something
it's
that
a
we're
one-shot
offering.
deal then. Never mind.
It's a one-shot.
Oh, Paul.
Sorry. I was channeling Mr. Driscoll for a second. I apologize.
Oh, I'm gonna pray for you. Anyway, it's a service that's being offered. I think that's a great deal if you want to take advantage of it. And I am going to defer to Nick with regards to the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day for
Thank you.
2013.
This is one of these items that has carried on a bit, and answer came today finally about it.
Location?
Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day. It was the board's desire to try and find a location in town that would work, and we've been doing so. The short of it is that the group of communities, the representatives, we met, and out of that meeting, there was a volunteer of going and using Minnetonka as the site. And we found out today that that is acceptable, it's available, and based on the desire of that group, that's where the event will be held for 2013. So that will be Saturday, the 21st, at, from
21st of
of
9
to
September.
1.
September, yeah.
Yep, and starting at 9 a.m. And we anticipate registrations to be accepted starting on September 16th. We'll have notices going out, save the
Great.
date coming out pretty soon, and then others as we get closer to the event. So,
Great.
Great.
No.
Thanks, Nick.
And I heard you say that there was a limited number of slots for its residents, right? I just want people to understand that there are limited spots that are available, so make sure you're looking out for that, save the date, so that you can get in. Because first come, first serve, right?
Well,
Yes.
you get a time, you basically get a time slot with your ticket when you
Right.
sign up, so. And the people on Summers Road will be glad to know the remake of Field of Dreams will not be occurring on
Thank
September
the
21st.
Lord.
Since we had traffic going up and down both sides of the street last year.
Oh, Lord. Lord, yes, okay.
All right.
All right, and I think
That's it.
that's it.
Thank you. What I'll do quickly, meetings, invitations, reminders, local emergency planning commission meeting Wednesday, May 29th, 2013, 7 PM at the fire station, 150 Summers Road. The trash schedule for this week is pickups delayed one day due to Memorial Day, and it's paper recycling week. East Long Meadow High School's 52nd graduation exercise is Sunday, June 2nd, 2013, beginning at 2 PM. And the Board of Selectmen's next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, June 11th, 6 PM in the Town Hall hearing room. I believe the only item left we have is Town Council. We'll formally welcome you now, as opposed to calling you up here in a tizzy.
Well, good.
Again?
Thank you, sir.
How are you?
Thank you.
Might as well go through the executives, which I know 18 is.
I would say that my numbers are probably different than yours, but the collective bargaining, fire, police, and town employees
Yeah.
union would be executive, as would the IBPO request dealing with seniority.
Okay, everything else is fine?
Everything else, I believe, would be open session.
Mhm.
And
Oh, wait a
the,
minute.
Pardon me, just a question then, for the executive, would the item 23 is a proposal for a conveyance?
well, I have a different number, Nick. I have your sheet, I have a set of numbers as to what the board's working with. So it'd be item 18 and 22 would be executive session.
And 24,
24, 18 and 24.
not 23?
23, I would say to you, at this point, is not something that is a viable offer for the board, and there's really nothing.
So we can table it?
No, I think that really you need to send a response back. Well, you need to make a determination, first of all. It would seem to me from the information that I've received that this land would be land under the present control of the school department. As it abuts school department property, and therefore I would assume that it's under their control.
Okay.
If that's the case, before the Board of Selectmen has any jurisdiction with respect to this land at all, the school department, school committee would have to vote to determine that the land was no longer necessary or desirable by them for their control. And then we would petition to have that land transferred by town meeting back to the control of the Board of Selectmen. And then at that point, assuming all of that occurred, then you might be able to entertain a request
Conveyance.
for some type of purchase of that
Okay.
property.
So we should write a letter to the person interested in purchasing it and ask him, and request for him to meet, talk to the school.
Just, yeah, indicate that it's not something that currently within the jurisdiction of the board. And I can work with Nick on those.
Okay, great, thank you. So we took care of that item. All right, I guess the next item for us would be this statewide emergency response mutual aid agreement.
This, or these statutory acceptances have come up once before the Board of Selectmen, back in 2010, shortly after they were enacted by the state legislature. And as you can see from the material that you received, the synopsis of the laws, they are statutory authority to enter into a statewide mutual aid agreement. My recommendation to the prior board back in 2010 was that I did not believe the agreement really was of any substantive value to the board, in that you have, my understanding is, local aid agreements with most of the surrounding communities in the event police, fire. I'm not sure about the DPW, but to the extent that you need assistance, those agreements are currently in place, and this statute has no effect on them. The reality of the situation is, I doubt that you're going to have a community of Worcester or Canton or Everett sending assistance to the board, nor are you going to be sending assistance in all likelihood to those communities. It's just not practical, it's too far. But that aside, the only real legal issue that I have with it is that both of the agreements, the one for police and fire mutual aid and the one for Department of Public Works mutual aid, have a provision in there where the communities are required to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless any community that is sending equipment or personnel to the community in response, so that if there's an accident or damage to property, then it is on the requesting community to make good those claims. And I don't know, and I apologize for saying this to you, I don't know how the Department of Revenue would review this statute, but currently, as I've told the board in the past, where there's a document where the town is agreeing to indemnify someone, the Department of Revenue takes the position that that is a pledge of the credit of the community, and that is, the pledge of the community is like a bonding issue and requires a vote of town meeting, and it requires a 2/3 vote of town meeting. So I have some serious concerns that you could even comply with the requirements of the statute here without bringing this first to town meeting to say we want you to be involved. But to make a short story endless, my recommendation that, it's my recommendation that it's not something that's really going to be beneficial to the town in the current
Okay.
situation. The Brown Community Gardens document, I've received, I know Nick and I spoke this afternoon, and there are some modifications that have been made to their proposal, but I did not receive them in my office this afternoon, so I haven't had a chance to review any of that, to the extent that that's important.
It's very important,
Okay.
because the planning department will not move forward until they have the signed memorandum of understanding, and so.
When's their next meeting?
Well, they're just waiting for us, the Board of Selectmen, to
Well,
sign
no, when's the
off.
planning board's next meeting?
I don't know, but
Guys.
perhaps if we're meeting on Friday and you
Well,
have
that's
time
what
to
I'm saying.
review
If I can
this.
get it, I just haven't seen the document.
Okay,
I don't know.
I,
I'm gonna
Okay.
move that Friday meeting to noon. Anyways, yeah, well,
It-
yeah, that's a
it
good
just-
idea. We can, if you can review it.
I can get a
then we
response to you
okay,
by then.
that's fine. Do you have it? You have it, right?
I don't have it. Now I have it.
okay, I can,
And actually-
do you have it via email, if we can forward it?
Okay, that's fine. I'll get back to Nick.
Okay.
So, not being an attorney, I took a stab at putting the memorandum together, and basically took language from what the planning department put together as far as their findings, and my understanding of what some of your concerns were. I did meet with their garden coordinator over the weekend to have them change some of the language in their application to address some of the issues, you know, who the checks would be payable to and so on. And so, again, planning department won't move forward, and rightly so, without their knowing that we have a memorandum of understanding in place.
I'll have a response to you then.
Thank you very much.
Okay. The next item is a retiree request.
This, my understanding is this is a retired municipal employee, recently retired, or at least with respect to requesting coverage under the town's retirees portion of the health insurance, and that the open enrollment period for the town's insurance coverage is at this point in time, and this is the window where an employee who wishes to be covered under a retired employee who wishes to be covered under the town's health insurance must make the request. And so this is the request that they're making. Nick advised me this afternoon that as far as he's aware, the employee complies with the requirements in order to be eligible for coverage, and therefore the only final requirement would be that the board votes to accept the request and authorize the employee to be covered.
Okay. And just since we have our employee benefits person, this person does fall within the, okay, okay. Is,
Recommend the board vote to accept the request?
okay. Okay, so it would be a motion to accept the request of the retired employee to what? To be,
Be covered under the town's.
okay, to be covered under the town's
Health insurance.
health insurance.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, next item is the ABCC.
This
It's
is
just
a
a
notice, this is a notice with respect to Pride license, and it's a violation hearing scheduled for July in Boston before the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission. I spoke with Nick earlier today. We have no further documentation as to exactly what the issues are with the application or the misstatements in the application that they're holding their hearing on. I will try to find out that information and have it for you at your next regular meeting.
Okay. And other than that, I believe I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss strategy and preparation for collective bargaining negotiations with union personnel, because to discuss these matters in open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town, to return to open session only to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Selectman Thorpe?
Yes.
Selectman Bronski?
Yes.
Selectman Federici, yes.